Good evening, and happy hump day. It is halfway through to the weekend. I hope that you all had a fantabulous day. I know that my day was a little extra spicy today. We are in the midst of this series on the Divine Nine Sisterhood edition this week. And so we will continue with another Divine Nine guest on tonight. For everyone who will be catching the broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for hanging out, sharing, and supporting the Angela Ray Show. For all of my live viewers, you know what to do whenever you get on the broadcast, especially those of you in Facebook land and those of you who are also watching live on YouTube. Go ahead and slide into the comments. Let me know where you are watching from. And if you have a snack, because it's 8 o'clock. Some of you may have already had dinner, but it may be snack time because it is prime time. So let me know what your Angela Ray Show snack is, or your favorite Angela Ray Show beverage. We are going to be getting started in just a moment. As always, we get started with our Ray of Motivation moment. And for our Ray of Motivation moment for tonight, I just want to talk about discipline and motivation. Discipline and motivation. There is a difference. Oftentimes, we are not motivated to do some of the things that we say we want to do, the things that we could do. I don't like using the word should, but the things that we could do, whether that's getting up earlier in the morning so that we get a head start on the day, whether that is working out, whether that is doing meal prep. That's a note to self because I have not meal prepped in a couple of weeks. Whatever that might be, it might be journaling, it might be meditation, it might be reading your Bible, it might be having morning tea, whatever that is. Motivation doesn't last. I think I heard one of the great motivational speakers say that because motivation doesn't last, you need it every day, almost like you need a bath or a shower every day. But that's where discipline comes in. When you are not motivated, it is the discipline that keeps you going. And as adults, we have to self-discipline ourselves. When I was a kid, I used to hate hearing that belt buckle sound because I knew what that meant. That was a form of discipline because there was something that I was not doing on my own. But now as an adult, I have to have my own kind of belt buckle of sorts and keep myself disciplined to do the things that I say that I want to do, and particularly those things that are going to take me to the next level in every area of my life. So just want to remind you, every day you may not be motivated to do something, but that's where your discipline comes in. And that is your Ray of Motivation moment for this Hump Day edition of the Angela Ray Show. Hey, Edwin, you're going to Noodles and Company. Yeah, if I was a little bit closer tonight, yeah, you could give me some noodles. Hey, LTLS, rolling up on the Angela Ray Show on tonight. Well, I want to go ahead and bring on our guest. I've been talking about this entire week, Divine Nine Week, and one of my guests reminded me that maybe I just want to explain what the Divine Nine is for those who may not be familiar. The Divine Nine is the group of 9 sororities and fraternities, historically Black sororities and fraternities that started at the turn of the century. You have Alpha Phi Alpha, you have Alpha Kappa Alpha, Omega Psi Phi, Kappa Alpha Psi, Delta Sigma Theta, Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta, Sigma Gamma Rho, and the Iotas, the last ones founded in 1963. And while oftentimes there may be a certain view of sororities, particularly as we think of college students and looking at movies, many, many members of the Divine Nine have gone on to do amazing things. They are extremely contributing members to the greater community. And as I mentioned last night, we just lost 2 of them in Reverend C.T. Vivian, who is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and Congressman John Lewis, who is a member of Phi Beta Sigma. So thus far this week, we have talked to ladies from Sigma Gamma Rho sorority and Zeta Phi Beta sorority. Well, tonight, I am bringing on one of my own, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is a blogger under the account Delta Fierce, which she has accounts across multiple platforms with over 30,000 followers. She is a West Point graduate as well as a veteran. You can sometimes find her modeling and coaching track. Please help me welcome Shalela Dowdy. Shalela, thank you so much for being on the Angela Ray Show tonight.
Thank you, Angela, for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight.
Well, tell me, Shalela, what have you been doing during this time away? This time of not being able to do the things that, we normally do when we're not in a pandemic?
Well, I have like mixed feelings about the pandemic. So usually I'm on the go. I'm hopping from South Carolina to Georgia to my home state of Alabama. The pandemic it has had me at home in Alabama. I've been helping out with my family. I am the oldest of 10 kids, so my siblings sometimes feel like my children. But I've been home. It is an election year, so I've been helping with some of our local campaigns. And we've had a runoff election last Tuesday. We have another local election coming up at the end of August, and I also will be a field organizer for a congressional campaign in the congressional first district in Alabama. So that's what I've been doing with my time, along with focusing on myself physically. I have a track and field background. I ran cross country and track when I was a cadet at West Point and ran while I was in the Army. And so I'm trying to continue that lifestyle up. It gets a bit tough as you get older and your body starts to break down. So yeah, the pandemic it slowed me down. And I literally was at home in Alabama for 3 months. I'm back in Atlanta because I pay rent here. As I say, I have an apartment here. And because of our event that we have tomorrow, where we are standing in solidarity with our soror mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. So yeah, the pandemic, it's like a blessing and a curse. I miss being around my sorority sisters. I miss being on the go. I had about 6 or 7 conferences I was supposed to attend this summer between the Delta Regional conferences, the NAACP conferences, Urban League. It just basically wiped my schedule clean. But the positive aspect of it is I want to run for office someday, and I want to get involved in politics. So it provided me the opportunity to work on campaigns and get the experience that I will need someday.
Now, you just mentioned West Point, being a cadet there. What was that college experience like at West Point?
It was an experience like no other. So I ran track. I was one of the top athletes in the state of Alabama. I was a distance runner. So I knew I was going to pay for pay for college through a running scholarship. And I was also an RTC. I was battalion commander in high school of my RTC program. And so I had that military influence in my high school upbringing. And so I was aware of the United States Military Academy at West Point. And I chose to go there. I narrowed it down to West Point in Alabama. I chose to go there because I knew West Point was going to challenge me, and it challenged me. Unlike regular college, where in order to graduate, you must meet the academic requirements, at West Point, you have to meet the military requirements, the academic requirements, and the physical fitness requirements. So,
oh, girl,
you got 3 pillars that you're graded in, and so it was tough. Academic wise, the academics are on the same level as the Ivy Leagues, as Harvard, Yale, and Columbia. So it was a struggle. I was challenged every day. The Black community is what helped me get through the academy. The community is bigger than it was when I was there. It was only 6% Black, but it was a struggle. I learned some awesome leadership skill sets, and the academy took me out of my comfort zone. In some classes, I was the only female and the only African American. Of course, I had my racial issues that occurred. I was there when Obama was elected, November 4th, 2008. We had some incidents occur. But overall, it was a great experience. I want to say great, yet traumatizing, because I had some not so positive things happen. But, what I endured at the academy contributed to making me the woman that I am today. So it was an interesting experience, a great opportunity, and I'm happy to be a graduate of West Point. But now hoping to go to HBCU in about 3 years for law school.
Okay. You mentioned military, and what my line sister just mentioned. Thank you for your service. So definitely, thank you for your service. And you talked about, being one of the only females and Black females sometimes in your classes, and you got some rank when you were in the military. What was that experience like, being in the military, being Black, and being a female?
So graduating from West Point, everyone graduates in their commission as a second lieutenant as long as they meet the medical requirements. And it's similar to those who attend regular institutions of higher learning and they do RTC. They also enter the military, either the active duty or reserves as a second lieutenant. All West Pointers go active duty. I was, and kind of still am on paper, I'm in the IIR, I'm in the individual ready reserves. I was the air defense artillery officer, which focuses on defending airspace. And we really don't defend much in the United States, but Washington, D.C., you kind of do the work overseas and where we're defending the Middle East. But it was interesting. Air defense is a branch that does not have a lot of Black officers. A lot of the African American officers, they matriculate into the HR branch and within the logistics branch. So it was similar to my West Point experience within my battalion. I was the only officer. I made it to the rank of captain. If I choose to continue on right now, if I would have stayed on active duty, I would have pinned major in about 2 or 3 years. So it's going to take a little bit longer in the reserves if I choose to stay. But it was challenging as a Black woman. It's similar to corporate America. The military, it's mainly Caucasians. It's really the white man's world. So I had to battle the stereotypes that comes along with being a Black woman. You know, they try to put the angry Black woman stereotype on you, even when you do not fit that mold. So just having to come in, prove your worth, prove you're just as good as your male counterparts. You know, they're expecting you to be weak as a leader, to be weak physically, but you know, I caught them off guard because I was a strong runner. But it was the military itself is also challenging. I wasn't a fan of the consistent moving around, so I was stationed in Lawton, Oklahoma. Fort Sill is there. Fort Bliss, Texas, which is in El Paso, Texas. I deployed for a year to Bahrain, which is in the Middle East, next to Saudi Arabia. And then I did some time at Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, South Carolina, near Columbia. So it's similar to corporate America, but it's a little bit more structured. So the military was a great experience. Thank you for your support. And even though I'm out, the military will always be a part of who I am. So right now I am a military academy liaison officer to the United States Military Academy. I assist applicants with their packets to West Point, because to go to a service academy such as West Point, Air Force Academy, or Annapolis, which is the Naval Academy, you need a congressional nomination. And you have to pass a physical fitness test. So if I see any potential candidates that I think possess the skill set to make it through such a tough institution, you know, I kind of point them towards West Point's way. And then we already have people who are in the system in your local area. I can pull up the system. I look and see who is on the path, who submitted the application, and I kind of hit them up, ask them what they need. I give them their physical fitness test. And that about sums it up. But the military, with me kind of having one foot out basically already, the 4 years in RTC, the 4 years at the academy, the 6 years on active duty, it's embedded in who I am. So I notice, like in my regular life, I like structure and discipline because I've lived that lifestyle for so long.
Do you still talk in terms of military time? Are you at chapter meeting and saying, Soros, we're going to meet at 1600 hours?
Oh yeah, no. So when I was on active duty, I was really good at not letting the military become my whole life. Some people, they serve on active duty, you know, they're doing the military stuff on a weekday and on the weekend. Some of them just stay at home. Me, you know, thanks to Delta and other organizations, I was always out and about and not letting the military become my whole life. So when it was time to transition out, I was able to do it effortlessly because I was already mingling with the civilian population. But some people are not that great at it, and that's why we have like such a high veteran homeless population and whatnot. So thankfully, I had prepared myself for the transition.
Now you also do some modeling. You've been in pageants. How would you describe representing the way that you do in an industry where beauty is sometimes does not include people who look like you and I?
I think representation is very important in the beauty pageant industry, even in the modeling industry. And growing up as a Black girl in America, me being of a darker complexion, you see that your beauty isn't valued as others. And I think competing, and I did majority of that while I was on active duty. I think it's very important for people to know that you can't put limits on someone. You can't put them inside a box. And it's great to be able to see someone that looks like you. Some people do pageants and they can't accept the losing, but I kind of did it for the experience. And I'm very competitive, so it was a great opportunity. It can be very expensive money wise, but met some great women. Pageantry is almost like a sorority within itself, so I call some of the women who I've competed with my pageant queens and my pageant sisters. And modeling's a little different. I did a lot of my modeling when I was in El Paso, Texas, so I was around women of color. They were mostly of Hispanic descent, and so I was always like the token Black girl. Even in the pageant industry, you're like the token Black girl. So I make sure that I represent us to the fullest. I debunk all those negative stereotypes that are floating around about us, and I just enjoy the ride. I don't have a pageant coming up now. I'll probably, maybe in a year or two, hop into another pageant, but it's a great experience and very rewarding being a title holder.
Okay. You have a question from one of our loyal viewers, Edwin Evans.
Oh, what's the question?
Can you see it?
I have my contacts in. I'm literally like doing this interview blind.
I will read the question for you. You was like, I gotta look good, but I ain't gonna be able to see though.
Read the question.
You obviously were a trailblazer at West Point. Who were your mentors, and do you encourage young women to seek military careers?
So like the first woman who had the most influence on me as a freshman at West Point happened to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta. She was not a graduate. The faculty body is not diverse. They're trying to get a lot of us to come back, but West Point is located 45 minutes north of New York City in the mountains, and everybody not too fond of the location. But she went to South Carolina State. Her name is Crystal Hills. A lot of my mentors, I think naturally we have mentors that look like us. But it's always good to have a mentor too that doesn't look like you, just to have their perspective on your growth and development. I also aim to mentor the African American females who are entering the academy behind me. We have the African American entry rate is increasing every year. I graduated in 2012. So I always aim to mentor them. But right now our numbers are increasing so much, I kind of like mentor who I can, and then I kind of like try to reach out to the Deltas. The Deltas weren't there when I was a student, but they are there now. Okay. And then also what I did was I took the yearbook, and Facebook wasn't as developed as it was. I was there from 08 to 12, and I went through the yearbook, wrote down the names of all the African American women who came before me. I found them on social media. I reached out. I started building relationships. So that was me. Everybody didn't do it. Nobody did what I did, but I was just like, I want to know who paved the way for me, who came before me, and what were their keys to success, and when it came to surviving in an environment such as this.
So you do a lot of different things. What is a typical day like for you pre-Rona? Like the Rona is different, but what is outside of the pandemic? What is a typical day like for you?
Literally, I don't. I wake up early, so I guess I could kind of blame that to on the military, because you have to be on base at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I still have that the early bird gets the worm mindset. I try to work out early because when you have a busy schedule and you're going throughout the whole day, if you be like, oh, I'm gonna work out in the afternoon, as the day goes on, you're gonna procrastinate. So I try to work out early, go about my daily business, and I'm active in the NAACP. I'm in the Atlanta branch, the Atlanta Young Professionals of the Urban League, the DeKalb chapter county of the National Council of Negro Women. So somebody is literally always having a meeting. Like I normally get home at like 8:39. So now Zoom meetings replace all those meetings that I normally have. So I'm normally going all day, every day. I'm never really at home. So I normally stay pretty busy. And somehow during the pandemic, I've somehow been able to kind of master that as well and keep it up. I don't like to be still. So that's what I've learned. I always need to be involved in something. And so with the pandemic, I'm like, okay, what's next? Because I don't like sitting here with nothing to do.
Now, you have definitely reached some levels of success, graduating from West Point as well as being in the military. No one reaches those kinds of levels of success without overcoming challenges. How would you say you've been able to overcome some of your major challenges?
Being open to criticism and knowing that you're not gonna be great at everything, being willing to fail and learn from those failures. being willing to learn from others who came before you, also being willing to ask for help, and always putting your best foot forward in everything you do. I feel like that might sound generic, but that's how I perceive the recipe for success. Knowing that it takes a village. It takes a village.
So this is Divine 9 Week, and if anybody didn't know, you are definitely representing in your letters. How would you say Sisterhood, as a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, has impacted your life?
It's crazy. I always wanted to be a Delta. And even if I've always been surrounded with great women. I don't know. I feel like and it's Black women for the most part. I've always surrounded myself around Black women, and Delta provides that. And I feel like if I take Delta out, I'll be missing something. So it has provided me with unlimited resources, unlimited love, unlimited support. If I ever need direction, guidance, motivation, I know I can reach out to my sorors, and just not even reaching out, just watching the Delta women move. It's all inspiring. It's motivating. Like, I'm always like, what am I doing with my life next? Like, I'm never content. And I feel like there's just so many awesome women who's blazed so many paths. When you look at Black women in leadership around the country, personally, to me, what I'm noticing, there's like a 50% chance that she is a member of our organization. But just Delta, it just warms my heart. And I really hate during this pandemic, I'm not around my sorority sisters, and I don't get to see them as much. It's like that's the tough part. But I'll get to see them tomorrow. Tomorrow.
You're gonna be down to the Capitol.
But and there's literally a Delta woman everywhere. Like, you almost can't go anywhere without there being another Delta woman in the room. Whether it be a restaurant and you're ordering, like I've been in the library studying, I've been in a restaurant, I've just been standing in the line, and we're like everywhere. You can't get away.
You have a question from Queen Dominique.
Wait, hold on.
And it is, I was going to read it to you. She said, nah, I'm going to read it myself. I'm going to put these specs on.
So we can have great lighting, but the ring light puts a glare on your glasses. So I don't have my glasses on. What have you learned about yourself, sis, and during all these experiences? Oh, what's up, Cassandra? I know who that is. I've learned that I'm stronger than I think I am. You know, you think when you're going through something, oh, like this is going to break me. I don't know what I'm going to do. But whenever I come across an obstacle and I'm stumbling and I'm just, stressed out, in the end, once you figure it out and you overcome it, you're like, okay, that wasn't that hard. So I just know that I possess the skill set to overcome any obstacle. You just have to believe in yourself and not doubt what you're capable of.
All right. We got another question from LaTanya.
I'm going to keep my glasses on. What office would you like to serve in one day? So long-term goal, I want to be a congresswoman for the 1st congressional district of the lower 5 counties of Alabama. I was born and raised there, so my heart is there. I stay in Atlanta right now, but once I go to law school in like 2023, I'm gonna move back home after law school. But Congress, Senate is there. The Senate is there, but Congress. But before that, I want to work my way up. So I want to like city council, mayor. Those are options, but also a state representative. But long-term Congress. So I get to I'm working on a congressional campaign right now. The candidate is a member of Omega Psi Phi. Like I said, you can't get away from the Divine 9. 30-year Marine, executive director of the NAACP branch in my hometown. So I'm excited. I feel like God does stuff and move doors for you. If this pandemic wasn't going on, I probably wouldn't have been able to take on the field organizer position that he's offered me thus far. Might be the campaign manager coming up, but I'm doing field organizer for now. But congresswoman is like the ultimate goal for me.
Wow. Now I have a question for you. Well, actually, you know what? We got another question from Edwin before we get to my question.
We getting real political. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a political forum now. So the issues that would be close to my heart, I am very big on social advocacy. So, passing legislation that hold the police accountable for some of the things, for some of the negligence and the things that they do in society that we kind of let them get away with is blasphemy. What else? Healthcare reform. I just feel like as a country, and me, my family is from the lower class, and seeing that, so I'm about to tell a personal story. So my mother tried to commit suicide like 2 years ago, and she's in the hospital for 40 days, and she has a ton of medical bills now. And it's just overwhelming that, you know, we can't get free healthcare in our country, and that it's just so expensive to the point where I know people who don't go to the doctor because they don't have like health insurance, and they don't want to risk being in medical debt. Like my mother did not want to take the ambulance because she was like, oh, that's $2,000. So healthcare is very near and dear to me. Political justice, justice reform, criminal justice reform, and working with our prison system. So I don't know how many of y'all have seen Just Mercy, but there are so many African American men that are in prison who are innocent. There are African American men who are in prison who have received sentences that are ridiculous. I know someone that had a prison sentence. They got life for drugs, and it's a non-violent crime. So that's actually what I want to focus on when I get out of law school, is helping those who are in prison who should not be obtain their freedom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Final question for you. You know, thinking about this period of time, and when I say this period of time, I mean both the pandemic as well as the increased action of social justice. What do you think the legacy will be for our Divine Nine organizations?
I think the legacy will be centered around how we reacted. And something as simple as like what we're doing tomorrow when we're standing in solidarity with our sorority sister. How we react to our leadership, how we react to the injustices that are occurring to the average citizen. I think that will be something that we will be able to reflect on when it comes to like what happened in 2020 and how did the Divine Nine respond. And so I've been seeing different events being held around the country by members of the sorority on a national level, or by members of the Divine Nine on a big level and on a smaller level. Like me and a soror and a Zeta, we put on a food drive this past Saturday in Alabama, and we also like reached out to the health department and provided COVID testing. And it was a rural area, and the pastor was like, they have not been able to get testing out there. It's only been in the inner cities, and Alabama like doesn't even have that many big cities besides like Birmingham and Montgomery. So you don't think about the people who live in the rural areas. So I think it will be focused around how did we respond to it, whether it's a chapter response or individual member response. We all have our own individual power to be impactful and leave a footprint.
Awesome. Well, Shalela's Instagram is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can connect with her on Instagram. Thank you so much for taking the time out of, even though you are not on the road as much, you still have all those Zoom meetings. So I appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective, particularly the military perspective, as being a member of the Divine Nine. And have a great evening.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this session, and hopefully we can do this again.
We will. I'm sure we will. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that is it for this Hump Day edition of the Angela Ray Show. As always, I would like to remind you of Ray of Motivation, number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you to go out and be the change. Have a great evening.